Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are completely deconstructing one of the most high-stakes, rigorous, and frankly deeply misunderstood components of the Cambridge Accounting AS and A-Level 9706 syllabus. We are talking about the role and responsibilities of the external auditor. Now, you might be wondering, out of everything in the syllabus, why are we focusing our attention here? Well, I spend a lot of time analyzing principal examiner reports, and I act as a sort of master coach for students trying to navigate this curriculum. And let me tell you, this specific topic is a massive battleground. It is a critical area where otherwise highly knowledgeable, incredibly well-prepared students consistently and needlessly miss out on guaranteed marks. They walk in knowing the textbook inside and out, but they completely misread what the examiner is actually asking them to do. So today, we're going to dive directly into the examiner's methodology. We are going to deploy clear, actionable cognitive strategies, and we're going to turn your vulnerabilities into massive scoring strengths. Let's get started.
Here is the roadmap for our masterclass today. First, the examiner's perspective. Second, mastering core principles. Third, the technical methodology. Fourth, critical evaluation skills. And finally, number 5, the top examiner traps.
Section 1. The examiner's perspective. Think of this as getting inside the mind of the referee. Before we can even touch the actual content, we have to understand exactly how the marking process works on their end.
The urgency of this topic is absolutely crystal clear. Take a look at this insight straight from the source. Mastering auditing is essential. This topic appears in every examination series. You literally cannot hide from the external auditor question. It's going to be there. And it is very often structured as a complex, high-tariff challenge, sometimes worth a massive 9 to 15 marks. That can easily be the difference between letter grades. But to unlock those top-tier marks, you must understand the precise anatomy of Cambridge command words. This is where the game is won or lost. Too many candidates treat words like analyze and evaluate as the exact same thing. They think, oh, I'll just write everything I know about the topic. No way. They are absolutely not the same. Analyze simply means breaking down the data. Evaluate requires you to actively weigh the evidence and make a firm judgment. It's the same trap with explain versus to what extent. Explain just wants a reason, but to what extent demands that you act like a lawyer, arguing both sides of the case before coming to a definitive, balanced conclusion. When you sit down, you have to mentally isolate that command word, identify the exact content knowledge it triggers, and consciously spot the hidden constraints of the prompt.
Section 2. Mastering core principles. This is our foundational theory, the absolute bedrock required to pull yourself out of the middle of the pack and reach those top-tier marking bands.
The absolutely crucial point here is that successful candidates must demonstrate competence across 3 very distinct cognitive domains. Assessment Objective 1 is knowledge and understanding. AO2 is analysis, and AO3 is evaluation. To really picture this, I like to imagine 2 different types of students I coach all the time. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is highly technical, a total formula fanatic. Alex crushes AO1 and AO2, perfectly memorizing facts and analyzing data, but completely freezes up when a question asks for open-ended evaluation. On the flip side, we have Sam. Sam is a creative thinker, great at forming big arguments and seeing the big picture for that AO3 evaluation domain, but Sam totally lacks the structural precision and timing to get the foundational points down. You cannot just be an Alex and you cannot just be a Sam. To secure those elite marks, your answers need to fuse Alex's precise factual knowledge with Sam's strong conceptual evaluation. You need all 3 domains working in perfect harmony.
Let's clarify the exact difference between those top 2 cognitive domains, because this is where the biggest debates happen. Imagine Alex and Sam arguing in a study room right now about how to answer a prompt. Alex is pushing for a purely factual approach, saying, look, analysis is just about breaking down data to extract relationships. We spot the pieces of the puzzle. We look at the audit scenario and state, the data shows a discrepancy in inventory valuation. Boom, done. But Sam pushes back, arguing for the broader conceptual perspective required for evaluation. Sam says, no, to cross the threshold into elite marks, we have to draw evidence-based conclusions and literally question the assumptions being made. This is where you have to step back, look at the entire landscape, and say, because there is a discrepancy in inventory valuation, the external auditor must actively question management's assumptions regarding depreciation, which ultimately impacts whether the financial statements show a true and fair view. Alex is right that analysis spots the pieces, but Sam is right that evaluation actually builds the puzzle and critiques the final picture. You have to do both.
And that dynamic brings us to another absolute core principle. cross-topic connections. The theoretical architecture of this Cambridge syllabus rests heavily on integration. Principal examiner reports explicitly, and I mean explicitly, state that candidates who reference cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. So what does that actually mean for you when the clock is ticking? It means the external auditor does not exist in a vacuum. It's not a standalone island. When you draft your answer, you have to deliberately connect auditing theory to company accounts, to internal controls, or to business ethics. When a candidate takes the time to point out how an auditor's independence ultimately trickles down to affect overall shareholder confidence, they are making a massive cross-topic connection. And I promise you, the examiner is sitting there practically eager to award top-tier points for that profound level of understanding. It shows you truly grasp the whole system, not just a single chapter of the textbook. Section 3. The technical methodology. Now that we understand the principles, we have to apply them through strict procedural conventions. This is the framework. Systematic processing follows a highly standardized sequence, and Cambridge loves structure. Let's walk through this 5-step procedural framework. Step 1. Identify key elements from the text and tables. Step 2. Apply the relevant accounting principles. Step 3. Execute with clear working. Step 4. Verify your results and check for reasonableness. And Step 5. Present in the appropriate format using correct terminology. Now, I see students hit major roadblocks here all the time. They are drafting a response, they get halfway through, and suddenly their timing is totally off. Or their paragraphs just aren't linking smoothly. They get completely stuck. And almost every single time, it is because they skipped steps 4 and 5. They didn't verify the results against the context, and they didn't present it in the demanded format. Verification and proper formatting aren't just nice-to-haves. They are the glue that holds a complete, high-scoring answer together.
Now, before I show you the exact cognitive strategy I use to get students unstuck when they hit that roadblock, let me pause the lesson for just a quick second. If you want to absolutely crush your Cambridge exams and ensure you never miss out on these weekly breakthrough strategies, hit the subscribe button right now for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at the handle @AceTheExamIGCSE, and make sure you enable all notifications. Okay, let's get back to it. How do we get unstuck? We simplify that 5-step framework into a broader, high-powered 3-step problem-solving engine specifically built for auditing questions. Deconstruct, solve, evaluate. First, deconstruct by aggressively identifying the given information in the stimulus material. Second, solve systematically by breaking the complex audit scenario into logical, bite-sized steps. Finally, evaluate by making highly justified recommendations. Making sure that the absolute final sentence of your response actually evaluates the auditor's responsibility rather than just passively restating the problem can completely transform a mediocre, middle-of-the-road answer into a flawless, full-mark response.
Section 4. Critical Evaluation Skills. It is time for a visual workshop. Let's dive in and see exactly how top-scoring candidates deploy critical thinking in practice. The examiner's reports frequently state that they are looking for evaluative thinking. But what does that academic jargon actually mean when you have a pen in your hand? It means questioning assumptions, considering different perspectives, identifying limitations, and justifying decisions with hard evidence. Let's practice this. Imagine a complex scenario is sitting right in front of you. You have a 60-second mental countdown timer. In the text, an auditor relies solely on management representations. What is the limitation? The limitation here is that management has a massive, inherent bias to present the company in the most favorable light possible to protect their jobs and stock prices. If you just write, "The auditor used management data," you are in a basic, entry-level AO1 knowledge mark. But if you stop and write, "Relying on management data without independent verification severely limits the reliability of the audit and risks a compromised opinion," you have just unlocked the top-tier AO3 evaluative thinking marks. Why? Because you directly, aggressively question the underlying assumption of accuracy. That is how you win the game. Let's do another exercise. Let's spot the flaw. I'm going to show you how a poorly written answer looks by comparing a generic, memorized definition to a specific, applied answer. Imagine a student writes this sentence on their exam. External auditors check financial statements to ensure they are true and fair. Can you spot the errors? The flaws here are glaring. First, it is entirely generic. You could memorize that in your sleep. Second, it completely ignores the specific context of the stimulus material. Let's say the prompt was about a specific manufacturing firm facing inventory obsolescence. A generic answer gets you almost nothing. A high-scoring conceptual answer applied directly to the constraints sounds much more like this. Given the rapid technological changes in the manufacturing sector mentioned in the case, the external auditor must critically assess management's valuation of inventory, as failing to write down obsolete stock directly violates the fundamental principle of prudence. Wow, by doing this, we didn't just state a fact, we applied the concept perfectly and surgically to the given context.
Section 5. Top Examiner Traps. We've talked about how to gain marks. Now let's focus on how to protect your score by avoiding the most costly mistakes.
Here is a rapid-fire breakdown of the top 3 traps pulled straight from principal examiner reports. Number 1, forgetting to include proper format. Listen, auditing questions aren't just about what you say, they are heavily about how you present it. If the question explicitly asks for an audit report extract and you just write an informal, rambling essay, you bleed marks. Number 2, failing to check presentation. Have you used clear headings? Have you used appropriate professional accounting terminology? Is there clear annotation? The examiner wants to see a professional skill level, not a rough draft. Number 3, and this is arguably the most common trap of all, answers that are not specific to the context given. Generic knowledge dumps are brutally penalized. Always extract relevant data from the stimulus material and explicitly reference the specific scenario provided on the paper.
Okay, this is a massive examiner alert. Write this down in your brain. Show your workings. The method mark strategy is your ultimate undeniable safety net. In Cambridge accounting, marks are heavily awarded for the process itself, not just the final destination. When you execute an analysis, you absolutely must do it with clear working. Let's say you make a silly calculation error early on, under the pressure of the clock, or your final conclusion ends up being slightly off base. If the examiner can look at your paper and easily follow your systematic processing, you will still pick up partial credit. These are called method marks. The process is literally just as important as the final answer. Never ever just write down a final number or a solitary conclusion without showing the complete analytical framework that got you there. Don't hide your brilliant thinking.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today. Let's synthesize this entire masterclass into 3 core, memorable pillars that you can take directly into the exam room. First, the 3-step question scan. You must always identify the command word, the required content, and the hidden context before you write a single word. Second, the paragraph balance formula. Ensure that every single paragraph moves from pure knowledge, flows through analysis, and lands firmly in evaluation. And third, the last 5 minutes review checklist. Check your formats, verify your context is applied, and ensure your workings are completely visible. Crushing Cambridge exams requires a highly consistent, structured strategy. You can't just wing it. So I leave you with this final thought. If the examiner is constantly looking for cross-topic connections and evaluative thinking, what assumptions are you failing to question in your own study strategy right now? Think about that. Before you go, remember that success here takes practice. Hit the subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels at the handle @AceTheExamIGCSE. Turn on that notification bell for more crucial exam hacks and leave a comment below with your target grade. Apply these frameworks and we'll see you next time.